Hey, what's up? This is literally just later today. I'm gonna make a whole ass video in response to one YouTube comment that I read, which I don't actually have it written in front of me, so maybe I should go to my computer and write it in front of me so that I can actually properly respond to it. Imagine preparing for a YouTube video in current year. Imagine actually having a plan. I do have a plan for my channel, just not these fucking videos. But this has 8 views, but it still has 5 comments, myself included, which is wild. So 8 people have watched this, and the majority of them have commented on it. I'm pretty sure one of them is a bot. Said thank you for sharing, but maybe not. One just said I'm just hoping the best for you. One of them said, I can see your stress in the way you keep moving your hair. And yeah, I was self-conscious of that because when I look at myself in the camera, when I look at myself on the camera on my iPhone screen, I am really this is fine, this looks fine, but when it's like this, I'm really self-conscious of the fact that even though I have like all this long hair, it's not actually covering here, and that just makes me look like a weirdo, and I don't like it. So I'm trying to adjust it so it looks good. And I've literally never cared about my appearance before ever, so this is a sign of psychological change. But I'm doing a lot better than I was earlier. And I think making that was just really kind of necessary, get a lot off my chest. And I won't do this like literally every day, but I like making little videos responding to comments because social media isn't actually social. So I'll make it a little bit more social without like overbearingly crossing that boundary. But I just wanted to respond to this because this was kind of profound, and I just wanted to read it. I don't have a life situation similar to this, and even if I had one, I'd not share it. In parentheses, privacy. I'm gonna be frank with you, dude. I don't have that boundary. If I could share my whole life, I would. That's the thing. If it didn't involve other people who don't want me to talk about their lives publicly, I would just tell my whole life story online. And maybe someday, but not soon. And yeah, I just like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's stupid of me. Maybe if I actually got attention and a lot of pushback for my life choices, I would care about privacy a lot more than I do. But I think at some point in my life, I just kind of accepted like, there is no privacy. Privacy is dead. I don't care anymore. And then I just stopped caring about my own privacy. I still care about others. Still care about respecting other people's privacy. Just not my own. And people like us are able to survive such great social predators. We are not dumb. But when we see some dumb, in parentheses, nice person, word in Australian, acting in such evil ways, we just ignore the meaningless social structures and norms and state what we think blandly and transparently. I'm assuming you mean like, you know, people with autism when you say people like us, but maybe you just mean people like us, in which case fair and based. That's always kind of been how I am. I just state what I think blandly and plainly. I've only kind of stopped doing that to the extent I always did it recently because I'm still a believer that whenever a topic comes up, you need to be completely honest about it, even if your opinion is an unpopular one, because talking about stuff is how people actually get through it. But like, sometimes you can talk so much about something that you like make it a worse problem than it is. Sometimes you can obsess over something so much that it just becomes a problem that it wouldn't have otherwise been if you had just left it in the past. And another sort of important, I don't have my glasses, so I have to keep getting close to the screen to read it. But social structures and norms are just in place to stop people from making each other uncomfortable. That's basically all it is. People have a very large tendency to project. I would know better than almost anyone. We have a large tendency to project onto other people and assume that other people feel the same way that we do about stuff. And everyone does it, but some people do it more than others, but people all over the political compass. It's not like specific to a particular type of person, but some people do it more than others, I'll admit. But people in general, they project. Even people who are nice or who are chill in ways that people generally respect them and people like them, that even they project a lot. And it's just very common in our society because of how honestly kind of imprisoned mentally people are about just thinking about the world in a specific way. People's personal identities and egos are partially reliant upon, I'm not a bad person, I'm not a bad person, I'm not that bad of a person. So they tell themselves stories about, and I would know because I've done this exact shit. You tell yourself a story about who you are and what you believe and what the world is like, and you stop caring if the story is true once it starts hurting you enough. So that's where politics comes from a lot of the time. It comes from people feeling like they have a grievance and it's being unmet, and they have to listen to someone else meet their grievance for them. And sometimes people can have very poor communication skills and just end up hurting each other's boundaries in ways that they didn't mean to. And sometimes people don't care about boundaries because they think, I don't have any boundaries. Everyone's always treated me like shit without asking me, so I shouldn't have to care about anyone else. It made me a stronger person, so it doesn't matter that much. And that fails to acknowledge that, like, different people have different boundaries and think differently. And something that might not offend you at all could really, 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 really ruin someone's day or year if they hear it from the wrong person. You know what I mean? And then, like, so social boundaries and norms are still important. And one of my craziest stories from my life, actually, is that when I was working at Walmart, I had this woman who was like in her 40s or something, 40s or 50s, and she was just in the middle of the Walmart parking lot in broad daylight, where there were no cars, kind of in a part of the parking lot where there weren't any cars. I was parked out there. I was on my lunch break. Well, it wasn't lunch, it was like dinner, but you get the point. It was like an evening shift. And I was ready to go eat dinner and then drive back. But then this woman was like really meekly, terrifyingly like, excuse me, sir, I want to talk to you. And she was like on the verge of tears. And I'm like, well, my goodness, what's wrong? And she told me about how basically she was left there by some guy who was, the guy who was supposed to drive me home just left me here. And she said, and I'm scared to walk to the front door by myself. Would you please help me there? And that really fucking got to me. That really stuck with me. Because she was just in the middle of a parking lot. Just an empty ass parking lot. There wasn't even like a lot of cars. It was like the corner of the parking lot where there was like no one there. And she was afraid to walk up to the Walmart and then over to the door. Even though there was a lot of traffic, like people traffic walking in and out of the front doors, she was scared to go there by herself. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, okay, what on earth is going on with this woman? Has she been taken advantage of in public before? Has she been kidnapped before? Is she just overly paranoid? Is she like psychotic about something and it just makes her overly paranoid? Is she not overly paranoid? Is she like in danger? Is someone like following her? What on earth is happening with this random person's life? I don't know, but I feel obligated to help her to the door. And I did. I just walked her to the door like a normal person, and she looked at me and she was like, oh, thank you, young man, thank you. Could you please get a manager? And she would talk to someone else up front. And she said, thank you, you can go now. And I'm just like, okay, man. And that was the last I saw of her. I'm assuming she got a hold of someone and she's fine now. But like, some random person in public who just looked like a normal woman that I wouldn't have thought anything weird of turned out to be she gave the vibes of a human trafficking victim or something. And she was in her like 50s. She gave the vibe of someone who's never been outside before and was terrified of everyone. And she was in her mid 50s. It was like she was like a teenager who was like overly sheltered by her parents and was like meek and timid and scared to talk to anyone because they might be a predator or something. But then like she was in her 50s or 60s or 40s, 50s or 60s. And that blew my mind. And I remember thinking to myself, like, man, how I come across to strangers matters to me because I don't want to like say something that would hurt someone like that. You know what I mean? And that's why I think through everything I say so much. because I don't do it so much that you're miserable or anything, but I like to come across as polite and cordial, which I failed to do that other time I made a video in response to somebody's comment and just crashed out, but I thought it was, like, obvious enough that I was mad at, like, the world and not, like, this person specifically. But I was just mad at, like, the concept of people being ignorant and then, like, acting like that makes them smart. Because you don't have a source to prove my ignorance wrong, when you can literally just Google it, man. It's, like, the first result, but whatever. So I'm not saying Google never lies to you. I'm just saying that it provides a lot of factual information, and, like, you could look for it and compare sources and use your brain, or you can just not do any research and then say, I've covered my ears and gone, la, 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 I'm not listening, and therefore nothing is happening in the world, and I'm immune to all criticism. And that just really pissed me off because he was so smug about it. And he told me to calm down, which people telling me to calm down is a trigger for me. But I chose very consciously to get triggered at him telling me to calm down, because I wanted to talk about this topic for a while, and he was providing me an excuse to do it. But then he commented, like, I feel unsafe after you made this video. I've showed this video to my friends. None of them think I was that unreasonable. They don't think that someone feeling unsafe after I made that video is reasonable. But, I mean, whatever, it's how he claims to have felt. He could be trolling me, but I don't think he was, given how much he stood behind his position. And I even apologized. I was like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, I can delete the video if you want. Like, I didn't want to go that hard. But, like, I just take some criticism, man. And he's like, no, I do not forgive you. You have made me unsafe, and I will not watch any of your videos. And it's like, well, you're the one who wanted to stay and troll my comment section, so it's kind of a win for both of us, so whatever. So, like, that's just an example, though, of, like, I still chose to do the nice thing, even though I was severely pissed off at him still, because it's like, maybe he's serious. Maybe he actually feels unsafe from some random dickhead on YouTube making a 30-minute long video responding to his YouTube comment. So I deleted the video. Well, I didn't delete it, I unlisted it, but yeah. And that's just an example. So, like, yeah, social boundaries, and, like, I don't think they're meaningless. I think that empathy is important to me. And I really want to know how people are feeling. And what I've slowly learned over the course of my life is that my assumptions about people are almost never correct, unless they're the type of person who just thinks and feels in the same sort of way that I do. Then I'm generally good at reading them, but even then, I'm bound to make many mistakes. I'm a very abnormal person, I've learned. And so I just don't process the world in the same way that other people do. Some part of me takes this as like oh, these are like wonderful creatures that I don't understand. All of other humans in the world, they're amazing, and I gotta coexist with them. But then some part of me is like, well, fuck other people. They annoy me. They piss me off. They're kind of incredibly obnoxious and egotistical. But I imagine that that's probably how most people feel about me. Because I'm so weird. So I just feel that way about other people because they're weird to me. So that's probably how other people feel about me. And instead of being disrespectful about it, I'll just be upholding of my own dignity. And, like, I deserve to have some dignity. You deserve to have some dignity. So that's, but you're right. When someone is being evil, I'm going to tell you that you're being evil. And that the same goes backwards, the other way. If you think I'm being evil, I want you to tell me that I'm being evil and not keep it to yourself. I love freedom of speech. I'm a freedom of speech absolutist. I hate censorship. And there can be limits to that, maybe. Like, I used to be like an absolute free speech absolutist, but now it's like, okay, yeah, if you say the N-word on a Discord server, you can get banned. I'm not gonna, like, cry that the First Amendment is being violated. But you should be allowed to say anti-trans stuff on Twitter without getting your account taken down. You should be allowed to say that you think biological sex is real without a minority taking that as a microaggression and banning you from your job because that offended them. And that's literally the same thing as committing violence against them. That's not good. And obviously it's easy for me to say that as someone who's not getting, like, killed, or people are hunting me down and my group down and trying to kill us. And I used to be anti-trans, but I changed my views because I finally talked to someone after 4 fucking years who actually had a conversation with me about it instead of just, like, making the same bad faith arguments 7 times and then getting upset that I wasn't just, like, caving to their demands. And once I finally understood what the struggle was, then I felt sympathetic, and I was like, oh, I was totally coming at this from the wrong angle. I was completely wrong. But to actually learn that information, you have to talk to people. You have to have those fucking conversations. I think we're kind of going into an autistic generation where people are going to be more, they're going to have less social niceties. I don't think people really give a shit about social niceties anymore. I don't think people really care. And I've kind of had to accept the karma of that like even when someone's a huge troll and an asshole to me, I guess they're not respecting the social niceties. So that's their right to do, and it's my right to completely fucking ignore them. But anyways, when someone is being evil, like bullying someone to suicide and then blaming their parents, the parents of the kid for not telling their child to grow and to stop having an unhealthy obsession with a video game, that kind of shit to me is like, that's just a different way to approach life. You're such a different human being than me that we operate on different wavelengths. I don't inherently think that makes you a terrible person, but I do think it makes you a terrible person when you are going out of your way to chide everyone else around you morally for how awful they are, very self-righteously and very self-assuredly. That it's like, I think it's awful, abhorrent, degenerate behavior to act that way. And the fact that people on Twitter feel morally justified going on the Twitter page of a grieving mother and saying, like, it's partially your fault, your son is dead, you know, it's just fucking unreal to me. It makes me upset. To be human, really. I don't know what I'm supposed to love about human beings more than animals. Animals eat, and they work, and then they fuck, and then they sleep, and that's all they do. That sounds like paradise. You know what humans do? They stress out about bullshit that doesn't matter while destroying the planet. And then they go, sorry, I feel really bad about it, and then they die, and then they rot. That's what humans do, that animals don't do. But we also have society. We also have art. Yeah, animals had that too. You know what it was called? Cuddling up with your significant other in bed every night. And then feeling like you're just at peace with the universe. And then having 20 children and loving every single one of them. That's what the world was like. And then humans were like, what if we destroyed everything in the name of Jesus? What if we invaded home countries and lands of people who were living harmoniously with nature, and we said, we're gonna kill and rape you and then retcon your history and pretend like we were the good guys and you were the savages. How does that sound? So, yeah, I don't care what your political affiliation is, who you claim to serve, who you claim to whatever. If you do something that I think is evil, I'm going to stand by that opinion. And I'm a free thinker in the sense that I'm not going to have my opinions changed just because I'm strong-armed into a corner. I'm going to continue to express my opinions even if it is literally not beneficial to my health and well-being. Even if it is literally placing me in danger and making my life miserable, I will go out of my way to be like, you're wrong. I care about the truth a lot. And maybe that's a cope. Maybe the truth is that nothing fucking matters. People can just lie about anything and make up some bullshit that people want to believe, and that's more likely to be believed than the truth. Maybe. On some level, that's true. But I don't care. I'm just out of pure spite for people who lie and take advantage of people, I want to live an honest life and try my best to make things less harmful in the future. And try my best to at least, like, if we are all going to go extinct in less than 100 fucking years, I want to actually make sure that we get, you know, like, I want to make sure if we actually go extinct in like 100 years, that people know the truth. That people know what really happened. That matters to me a great deal because of the amount of misery that I was under for the majority of my life knowing a lie as fact. And then how much more beautiful and pure my life was when I finally learned the truth. I'm like, oh my God, I was wrong my whole life. And that kind of feeling is something that I want to give to other people. I want to help people realize how wrong they were, but also how right they were, and how much their own senses were being used against them. That's what I'm passionate about in this life. And I want to be like a whistleblower, but in a way that won't get me killed. Are you fucking kidding me? Someone's calling my phone and it did low battery thing, so I thought it cut off the recording, but it didn't. I'm just gonna ignore him and answer the call in a few minutes. I'll call him back in a few minutes. But just for the sake of not making a separate message, I don't remember if I already said it, but fascism is National Socialism. Well, communism is International Socialism. Before I even get to the end of that message, okay, fascism being, Nazism being National Socialism. First of all, fascism isn't Nazism. Technically, they're not the same. You can be a fascist Zionist, for example, and that's the opposite in some ways of Nazism. So, in some ways. In other ways, it's, congruent. Being an ultra-nationalist Zionist is basically being a fascist. So, I don't give a fuck about words. Oh my god, the Nazis called themselves the National Socialists. Okay. Fucking China calls itself the People's Republic of China. They are neither peoples nor republic. They're not either of those things. I don't give a fuck what anyone calls themselves, okay? And I really don't care about people on Truth Social saying, oh my god, look at all these people who died under Stalin. Isn't this horrifying? This is the true cost of communism. Okay, motherfucker. Look at all the people who die under capitalism that you just ignore and pretend oh, that's just people who deserve to die or something. I could just as easily spin it that way. I don't really like people attributing things to labels and acting like that's all that's going on. Oh yeah, all the bad in the world is because of this one thing. This one bad thing. It's the equivalent of saying, a white person once was a murderer and a cannibal and a pedophile. That means that white people aren't to be trusted. It's just bullshit. It doesn't really mean anything to me. I don't care. Okay, communism did a horrible, horrible thing that hurt a bajillion people. Okay, capitalism also did a horrible thing. The logical conclusion from that is that human beings are awful to each other, at least on a macro scale, when we have unchecked power without a balance. So that's just that. I'll move on, because I gotta finish this up. Socialism are any and all political economical actions which puts the control of the economy out of the hands of the individuals and into the hands of the governments. I will agree with that. However, Vosh considers himself a socialist, and I'm pretty sure that Vosh would rather have stuff in the hands of the people than in the hands of the government. The idea is that if there is a government, it should be there to give people... I don't seize the means of production to the government. I seize the means of government of production to individuals, and the government be an extension of individuals rather than one autocratic power that gets to do whatever the fuck it wants without any checks and balances. Okay, that's what I believe. I'll just kind of move on from that. I don't really care about labels. Labels are kind of a magic trick to distract you from what you're actually saying, which is quite reasonable. And if you fall for the labels game and you play identity politics, you'll never fucking get anywhere. Not legal advice, which I'm assuming you mean not financial advice. My gut tells me that although some American markets may go somewhat higher compared to before, some more will return back to before, and most of them will be somewhat lower. I don't like the stock market. I've been trying to research the stock market all day today. I think it's going to go up tomorrow. I don't like the stock market either, even though I'm in it. I did not choose to go into it. I was put into it because my grandfather in new money bought me stocks for college, and then they went up in value, and then I had to deal with that. So that is why, but lately I've been trying to actually learn the ins and outs of it. And my god, dude, there's this thing called arbitrage, which isn't just a stock thing. And it's it's exactly what it's both the good and bad of capitalism amplified to its most extreme. Arbitrage is when you buy something and then you sell it for more money. That's it. It's called that because it's arbitrary. So it's arbitrage. And I think that's why it's called that anyway. I'm pulling that out of my butt. But anyways, arbitrage is literally when you buy a stock on one market and then you sell the stock on a different market that it's priced at a slightly different price, like 1 cent above or below at the same period of time. And if you can automate that process, then you can have an arbitrage trading bot, which makes like $1,000 a day if you're fucking insane. And you can also do arbitrage trading manually with crypto because it's so bad and so unregulated that XRP can be like $2.10 on one market and like $2.20 on another market at the exact same fucking time. So you can buy 5,000 XRP and then sell it 10 seconds later at 10 cents higher the cost with literally zero risk and just make the difference of money. And do that over and over again. That's the thing people do to make money. The stock market is kind of an example of like what I hate about capitalism. You're not actually providing value to shit when you do arbitrage. You are literally, the only value you could argue you're providing is that you think that stupid people have money and you're smarter and you deserve the money more than them, so now you're going to use the money to do smarter things. That's literally the only argument morally for arbitrage being useful to society. Like, otherwise it's just literally taking money from someone who earned it and giving it to some dipshit who's good at playing with numbers. And that's kind of what the stock market is on a macro scale, is just lots of arbitrage, but like normalized, and people act like it isn't ripping each other off. And they're just okay with it. And also it's controlled by fucking bajillionaires. If Warren Buffett wanted to, he could just like change the price of half the stocks instantly by liquidating them or buying more of them. That's just how that works. And it's so dumb. It's so stupid. Trump tweeted, now's a good time to buy. And then he changes his mind on the thing he said he wasn't going to change his mind on. Stocks soar into the moon. And I shouldn't have shorted it. That was stupid of me. I should have just assumed. My problem was I trusted Trump even when he's bullying someone. Apparently, even when Trump is bullying people, he still doesn't even tell the truth. He's like, I'm going to bully you. Haha, just kidding. That was a negotiation tactic. It is not a negotiation tactic, though, and it is here to stay. I was lying that last time. But we're not going to do that, actually. We're going to change it. We're going to change it even more. We're going to run it back. This is too much. So, yeah. Sorry I made a half an hour long fucking video. That wasn't the plan, but what can I say? I got a lot to talk about, and I just wanted to... I need to relax. I need to fucking relax. And one of the ways I relax is by talking to a camera and posting it online. So yeah, that's the YouTube comment that I wanted to reply to. It really is just that simple. I wanted to talk about, autism and saying blandly and triumphantly or transparently what we think about things. Yeah, I kind of hold that as my biggest pride in myself, is that I will say what I think. The only time I don't say what I think blandly is if it's easy to misinterpret it. I have a lot of really controversial opinions that are kind of acceptable, but if I tried to say them out loud, they would come across the wrong way to most people, so I don't say them out loud. And now that I've had experiences in my life where people misinterpreted even my most reasonable positions on things extremely uncharitably, I'm very careful to hold my beliefs close to my chest and only express them when it's important to the moment. And just let people form whatever expectations of you they want. Okay, my friend's calling me. Thanks for watching this video if you did. See you later. Bye-bye. I'm gonna relax, I promise.